Good morning. You're in tune with the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Captain Dave Burston, Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police. And as always, we're being brought to you here by our favorite producer, Tom Trial, who puts this show all together, gets us on YouTube, and we couldn't do it without him. Tom, thank you very much. He gives me a thumbs up. That's the best acknowledgement I've ever got from him. We also can't do this without our sponsors, the Indiana State Police Alliance, as well as Cops for Kids, who provide the funding to bring us here each and every week. This week, my guest today is Major Bob Webster. Major, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. May I call you Bob?
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be here and to be part of the show today. We're going to be talking about things that are happening with the Salvation Army and what you do year-round, not just during Christmas. I mean, here we are. Today's the 23rd of December, and Christmas is literally at our doorstep. But before we get into the meat of our show, I would love to learn more about you and how you started your career with the Salvation Army.
Well, I started my career right here in Indianapolis. I used to be the community center director at the Salvation Army Indianapolis Eagle Creek Core Community Center over on High School Road. So I was the recreation director there, if you will. Many years ago, it seems like forever, in the 80s. But it was from there that I realized that I wanted to be a Salvation Army officer and was called to do that. And so went to Salvation Army School for Officer Training out in Chicago, 2-year program. My wife and I went there together and was commissioned a Salvation Army officer. And now 28 years later, I'm the divisional commander here in the state of Indiana. So I oversee all the work for the Salvation Army here in Indiana currently. But it's been a great journey.
I think a lot of people don't know that there's a difference between the Salvation Army as being an officer and Salvation Army as being an employee or a volunteer. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. There's several different ways that people are involved in the Salvation Army. We have employees like any other organization would. They're the staff that run the bones, if you will, the tendons of our organization. They're the people that we rely on to get everything done. So you can just apply for a job, and if you're qualified, you get hired to work for the Salvation Army like any other position would. There's no other qualification except for the fact that you are qualified for that particular job that is posted. Then there's volunteers, and so volunteers are the actual backbone of our organization, and they're the people that volunteer for a specific program or an activity that we do, and they're very much involved in so many different areas. We have volunteers for many, many different programs. But the leadership of the Salvation Army are the officers, and officers are ordained ministers that go to a 2-year training program in the Central Territory. You go in Chicago, where our training program is. It's just a couple blocks away from Wrigley Field. It's
that's convenient.
It's very nice for when the season's going on. You get to go to a couple games. But yes, so we go there for 22 months. It's a pretty intense program. We learn everything from finance and business as well as the ins and outs of the denomination. And so a lot to learn in a short period of time. But then you're appointed and commissioned to an appointment somewhere around the 11 central states. And you are then in charge of that particular area, and you oversee the employees and the volunteers and the programs and the activities that the Salvation Army has in that area. And so now, my first appointment, I was sent to St. Louis. I was there for a short time, and then I moved to New Albany, Indiana. Was in New Albany, Indiana. Then I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I went to Port Huron, Michigan. From Port Huron, Michigan, I went to Chicago, Illinois. From Chicago, Illinois, I went back to South Bend, Indiana. Here I am in Indianapolis. So it's just a journey. You never know where you're going to go, and the Salvation Army sends you where they need you.
How long will you stay in Indianapolis, or is that undetermined?
We never know. I hope I stay here for a really, really long time. I'm in my 5th year, but you never know. The Salvation Army sends us when they need us and where they need us, and so we're willing to go. We make that commitment when we sign up, is that we'll we'll be willing to go where they need us. And so that's our commitment to the organization. But right now we love Indiana. We consider ourselves Hoosiers. I've been in the state for 15 years of my career. I've only been officer for 28 years, so more than half of my career I've been in Indiana, and we're very much Hoosiers.
Well, I love how you say you've only been an officer for 28 years. Just 28. Still trying to decide what you want to do when you grow up.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm hoping I have a future.
So for somebody that's listening to the show, and we're going to talk more about what the Salvation Army does in December, but just year round, if this has piqued their interest and they want to learn more about working for the Salvation Army or becoming an officer, is there an 800 number or a website that they should go visit?
Yes, our website is salvationarmyindiana.org. And at that particular website, you can find all the information that you need to know about the Salvation Army in Indiana. So it's a very simple website to remember because it's just Salvation Army and Indiana.org.
Now, that is all one word.
Yes, exactly.
And is there an 800 number that people can call?
No 800 number. So it's just a local number here in 317. I actually forget the number right now. So
okay.
let's not use that number.
Important, but it's on the website.
It is on the website.
Then they can get on the website, and then they can call. So let's look into a little more. I think most people are aware of the Salvation Army. One, if there's a disaster or during Christmas, because everybody knows the iconic red kettles, and they've been hearing them all the month of December. Talk a little bit about what the Salvation Army does outside of December, and then we'll work our way back to what you're doing all this month, have been doing all this month.
Absolutely. Well, maybe some of the things that people don't think that the Salvation Army does, we'll start there. In the summertime, we have a camp that we run. It's a 700-acre camp. It's just outside of Bedford, but it's for everybody in the state. And it's a really awesome place. It's in the hills of Indiana. It's not a flat land. Mm-hmm. It's cabins that are fully operational, air conditioned, very nice. They're heated, air conditioned. They're
well, that's not camping.
I know, but it's
that's
you think you go there in the summertime and it's very hot, but it's a beautiful place. We have excellent facilities. There's high ropes. There's an indoor pool. There's biking, trail biking, zip lines. There's just all sorts of cool and wonderful things to do. We have shooting, archery, there's athletics to do.
What age group do you cater to?
We have children's programs. We have junior high, senior high. There's actually young adult programs. There's also senior citizens programs. So all ages come out to our camps. It's a year-round facility, but in the summertime, we really focus on our youth here in Indiana. And all you have to do is go to one of the local Salvation Armies in the community and tell them you want to go to camp. And so we raise money throughout the year to be able to send people to camp that can't afford to go to camp. And it's a very small fee that people are charged to go to camp because people actually sponsor kids to go to the camp. And so it's an amazing opportunity. And if you're interested in sending a kid to camp, you just got to contact your local Salvation Army and they'll get you signed up.
And you can do that on the website.
You can, absolutely. Go to salvationarmyindiana.org and get information about camps. It's right there.
If you're just joining us, you are in tune with the Indiana State Police Roadshow, brought to you each and every week through the magic work of Tom Trial, also available on the Indiana State Police YouTube channel. And our sponsor is the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids that allow us to be here each and every week. I'm your host, Captain Dave Burston, Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police. And my guest today is Major Bob Webster with the Salvation Army. And we're learning all about what the Salvation Army does, not just during the month of December, but year-round. So, Bob, I'll tell you, I didn't know anything about the camp, so that was interesting. And I know that before we were talking before the show started, you talked to me a little bit about what you did at Ground Zero.
Yes, I have the privilege of being a chaplain for the police and the fire department for over 30 years. It's just a blessing that I have had training, being in different departments. And so when the towers were hit, the Salvation Army has a real great relationship with the Fire Department of New York. Mm-hmm. Fire Department of New York was asked if there was any Salvation Army chaplains that would be willing to assist them, as their chaplains were all focused on assisting assisting the families of the firefighters that were killed in the towers. Yeah. And so I was asked to go to Ground Zero to work with the firefighters on the pile, and I did that for 21 days, and it was a true honor that I had to do that. It's just an unforgettable experience, very, very challenging, but was one of the highlights of my career to be able to work alongside such brave men during their time.
Yeah, and our producer who makes this all happen, Tom, his wife was in TV media at the time. She was there, wow. So the two of you were there at the same time. So it's a remarkable experience. One I know that nobody wishes they had to have gone through. But it's important to remember people that served in that capacity.
Yeah, it's absolutely memorable, but it's something that the people who were there will cherish. It's a weird way of saying it, but it's something that you just
to be able
have in your heart to say you're able to do it. One of the other things that the Salvation Army does so well is work with the underserved people in the community. We have programs that we do for the homeless, programs for people who are involved in domestic violence issues. We have a shelter for domestic violence. We have an alcohol and drug treatment center for the Salvation Army, both for men at our Adult Rehabilitation Center and at our Harbor Light Treatment Center here in Indianapolis, and that's for people with the opioid addiction problem.
Such a serious issue now, yeah.
Exactly. Those are the tough ones that we do. So we work with preventive programs with our youth, but then when we deal with young adults and others who have made serious mistakes, so we work with the rehabilitation services, and so that's a very wide range of services that we do. We also have programs for our senior citizens. We have senior citizen housing programs. We have all sorts of programs that we're working with recreation. We have programs we work, like the Colts just at Eagle Creek just provided a new fitness center area for our kids in that community where they can come Excellent. And work out and things like that. So there's gymnasiums in Fountain Square at Eagle Creek. It's just a really neat thing. We have new programs coming on the north side up at our new divisional headquarters.
Well, and of course, people hear our program all across the state. And you have facilities in every major city in Indiana, correct?
Absolutely. From Fort Wayne, a great program there, down to New Albany, Evansville, all of those locations, Lafayette. These are great facilities throughout the state. South Bend has one of the most spectacular places. It's called the Kroc Center. My wife and I had the privilege of building that center. It's a 110,000 square foot community that really transformed a neighborhood. It was a program there that was moved into one of the most difficult neighborhoods in the community where violence was prevalent. The Kroc Center arrived, and now the police report there that the violence has just basically gone away in that area, and the police, many of their members come and work out there. They have a fitness facility there as part of the Kroc Center. So just many, many things. We want to encourage you, even though there's a day left to go before we all celebrate
before
Christmas.
Yeah.
Please come out and support us at our Red Kettles. Tomorrow, Christmas Eve. It's a big day for everybody, but we're running a little behind in our kettles and really could use your help. So if you see a red kettle and somebody ringing the bell, please give generously. We really could use your support.
Well, we've got a little bit of time. Talk about that a little. What was your goal this year? And you said that you're running a little short. What are you hoping to raise this year?
Well, throughout the state, every community has a different goal. I know in Indianapolis, they're trying to raise $3.5 million, but each community is trying to raise anywhere from $1.5 million to several $100,000. And so it's been a tough year because, when we started out a little slow and now we're trying to play catch up. And it's always tough to catch up when you start off slow. And I don't know why we started off slow. Maybe the weather was too cold or too nice. But now we're playing catch up. And I just, ask that you come and you see the Red Cattle Worker to volunteer there at the station, that you, give generously. I know that they're out there doing their very best, ringing the bell, giving. Or if not, please go to the website, salvationarmyindiana.org. You can make a donation there, or please just send us a donation in the mail, and that would be wonderful.
Well, Major Webster, I want to thank you so much for the time you spent on the show today, telling people everything that the Salvation Army does. Been very educational to me, so thank you. And to our friends that listen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a week. Roadshow out.